Okay, let's just dive right into this explainer. We're taking an empathetic, entirely objective look at one of the most emotionally charged, honestly kind of panic-inducing topics for parents everywhere: raising healthy children without meat. Look, if you've ever had a kid just flat out push their plate away, or if you're maybe thinking about transitioning your whole family to a plant-based diet, you know exactly how much anxiety surrounds this. So today, we're cutting through the noise. We're going to break down the biology, the nutrition, and the psychology of childhood vegetarianism using exactly what the science and medical guidelines tell us. So let's start right at the heart of the matter with the uncomfortable question that practically every parent secretly or, not so secretly stresses over. Can a child actually grow up healthy without eating meat? For a lot of people, just hearing that question feels risky. Like, no meat at all? No chicken? No burgers? Surely something's going to go wrong, right? But I really want to start with something crucial here. Something that should totally validate your anxiety, but also let you breathe a little easier. A child refusing meat is not automatically a medical crisis. It's just a dietary shift. But man, society often treats it like a five-alarm fire. And that societal reaction usually sounds a whole lot like this. It's like suddenly everybody around you becomes an armchair expert. Grandparents start worrying. Friends give you totally unsolicited advice. Neighbors try to diagnose your kid over the backyard fence. You hear stuff like, oh, your child must be iron deficient, or they're going to become weak, or you need to take them to a doctor immediately. Why does this happen so predictably? It's simply because people constantly confuse difference with danger. Just because a kid eats differently from the cultural norm absolutely doesn't mean something is inherently broken. Section 1, the panic over meat, separating difference from danger. Let's really unpack this before we jump to any conclusions. This right here brilliantly illustrates the two totally different situations you might actually face at the dinner table. On one side, you have a child who just independently dislikes meat. Maybe it's the taste, maybe it's the texture, which is super common by the way, or even just the smell. It's simply a personal preference. But on the other side, you have parents who intentionally raise their child vegetarian because it aligns with their family's ethical, environmental, or religious values. These are absolutely not the same thing, and understanding that difference is a real game changer for how you approach feeding them. A texture aversion requires a completely different parenting toolkit than managing an intentional family lifestyle choice. Section 2, omnivores by design, the biological reality. Let's look at the science and ask, are humans actually naturally vegetarian? Biologically speaking, no. Humans are omnivores. That means our digestive systems are literally designed to process both plant and animal foods. But what does that mean for us practically? It means dietary flexibility. We are incredibly adaptable creatures. We can live and thrive on so many different eating patterns all over the globe. Nature basically gave us this amazing biological adaptability. Culture, however, is what gives us our choices. So whether a family chooses vegetarianism for ethics, religion, or health, those choices are entirely valid within our biological framework. But hey, flexibility doesn't mean we can just ignore our physical needs. Section 3, the 3 crucial nutrients building the nutritional blueprint. Let's look at what kids actually require to thrive. Okay, the very first concern everyone brings up is protein. And yes, protein is undeniably essential for a child's rapid growth, tissue repair, hormone production, immunity, the whole shebang. But parents, you do not need to panic. Seriously, just look at this list. Protein does not only come from a chicken breast. It is abundantly available in beans, lentils, soy, tofu, dairy, eggs, nuts, and legumes. If your kid is eating a varied diet featuring a mix of these items, their protein needs are generally going to be totally fine. Now, iron is where things get a bit more nuanced. Honestly, iron deficiency is one of the most common nutritional issues in all children, whether they eat meat or not. But here is the absolutely critical difference. Meat contains iron that is highly, easily absorbable by the human body. Plant foods definitely contain iron too. I mean, think of spinach and lentils, but it is much, much harder for the body to absorb. That simply means raising a vegetarian child demands much more careful, intentional meal planning to make sure they are actually absorbing the iron you're feeding them. And that brings us to the third big nutrient. I'm going to shift to a slightly more urgent tone here because this one is serious. Vitamin B12 is absolutely non-negotiable. It's essential for brain development, nerve function, and making red blood cells. But here's the clinical catch. Reliable, natural sources of B12 are almost entirely animal-based. This means that strict vegan diets without proper supplementation or heavily fortified foods can create a very real, very dangerous deficiency risk in a developing child. But let me be super clear about something. Risk does not equal disaster.
A vegetarian child can absolutely be healthy, and a vegan child can completely thrive. But, and it's a big but, parents have to take on specific responsibilities. Look, vegetarianism isn't just a menu swap, it's a lifestyle decision. If you make that choice, you've got to manage it. You need to actively monitor their nutrition, commit to regular pediatric checkups, keep a really close eye on their growth and daily energy levels, and do blood work when your doctor says it's time. It's not about fear at all. It's entirely about awareness and responsibility.
Section 4, the feeding power struggle, psychology at the dinner table. Now that we've got the science down, let's pivot to the behavioral side of dinner. We absolutely have to address a massive, surprisingly common parenting mistake: trying to force a child to eat meat. Please do not do this. Force feeding is universally recognized as one of the most highly harmful feeding strategies you can use. When you try to hide meat in their mashed potatoes, or negotiate every single bite, or bribe them with ice cream, you are literally turning dinner into a stressful battlefield. And worse, you are severely damaging that child's long-term psychological relationship with food. So what's the game plan instead? You use this incredibly empowering, actionable framework called the division of responsibility. It's brilliantly simple. Step 1. You, the parent, decide what food is offered, when it is offered, and where. Step 2. The child decides how much to eat and even whether to eat it all from what you provided. If you respect that boundary, I promise you, a healthy child will eat when they are truly hungry. You just provide the balanced options, vegetarian or omnivorous, and you let them listen to their own bodily cues. Section 5, planning for long-term health, balancing risks and benefits. How do we balance those immediate needs with the proven long-term benefits of a plant-based diet? This is a really fascinating comparison. Research overwhelmingly shows that well-planned vegetarian diets offer fantastic long-term health benefits for adults. We're talking significantly lower risks of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and obesity. But we have to contrast that starkly with childhood. Kids are literally not just tiny adults. They are going through rapid, intense physical and cognitive growth. Their immediate, specific nutritional demands are sky high. The big takeaway here: you can't just feed a child a smaller portion of an adult's kale salad and call it a day. The planning matters so much more when they are young and growing. So can children be vegetarian? Absolutely. Can vegetarian diets be harmful? Also yes, if they are poorly planned. That's exactly why I want to urge you to drop the distracting ideology. Ignore the social pressure. Forget what the nosy relatives think. Instead of asking that loaded, stressful question, should my child eat meat? Let's replace it with this vastly better, health-focused question. Is this child receiving everything their body needs? Because at the end of the day, health, growth, and energy are what actually matter. To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a really powerful, comforting thought from our source material. If your family chooses vegetarianism, remember this: teaching a child compassion, responsibility, and respect for life is far more important than obsessing over strict dietary labels. Values come first. Diet comes second. Parenting is never about copying everyone else. It's about deeply understanding and nourishing your own child. So as you plan your next family meal, ask yourself, are you feeding their bodies, their minds, or both? And maybe more importantly, whose expectations are you really trying to satisfy? Keep learning, keep adapting, and we'll catch you in the next explainer.